How's it going, everybody? I've made videos about feats in the past. The weakest, the most underrated, and a few more. And while we've seen some changes since then, most notably the removal of a few of the mentioned ones in those very videos, overall, the feat landscape didn't change all that much. Rather, it has become even more a topic of conversation. Or maybe I should say complaint. Not much of a conversation going on. Other aspects of the game have been addressed, but feats have mostly been left alone, and this has led to quite a bit of frustration. The feat mechanic itself has always been a win more one. If you unlock your feats early on, well, it's better say you unlock it before your opponents, then this usually means that you will stay ahead in that match, and more often than not, you will get further ahead. Don't get me wrong, I much prefer to have them be a win more mechanic compared to a catch up one. I absolutely hate artificial catch up mechanics that reward players for doing badly. Nobody has fun with those, but this doesn't mean that the current implementation of feats is ideal. In the last testing round, we've seen renown changes, aka the current way of unlocking feats, and it did change it up a little, but my problem with them doesn't stem from how you unlock them, or even how quickly you unlock them. We have a massive discrepancy in the power level of feats, and I'm not talking about the tier 2 feat against the tier 4 feat. Even within the tiers, there are some massive differences. A strong tier 4 can be match deciding. Using a fire flask properly can lead to victory, whereas other tier 4s are almost irrelevant to the outcome of a match. So I want to look at the biggest culprits today. Nearly all of these can be considered as too strong, but as of now we do not know what the ideal strength levels of feats are in the eyes of Ubisoft. So what we might consider as way over the top, they could consider as a baseline to balance other feats around. Sadly, the balancing of feats has been a slow process. But yeah, let's get to it. I don't know how many I'll list just yet, but I'm sure everyone knows that Smoke Bomb currently takes the top spot, so we'll talk about that one last. Let's talk about the less egregious ones first. Well, a special mention first, I guess. Last laugh. I personally think the feat has absolutely no place in this game and is a terrible design concept. It comes pretty close to the catch-up mechanic that I mentioned in the beginning. You should not be rewarded for dying. Not to this degree at least. And no amount of reduced damage or you can just roll out bro will convince me otherwise. I think it is a prime candidate for a feat that simply needs to be removed. But the next group of feats is probably too big to remove, so changes will have to be made. We're talking projectiles. Let's start with one that will be a huge menace once the Shinobi rework comes around. Shooting stars has always had the shotgun property, meaning you can hit multiple of those shuriken on one target. So you can do up to 100 damage. Rarely, but it's possible. 40 to 60 damage shots do happen quite frequently though. Now the best part is that it also confirms a kick, or rather it will. And confirming a kick means that you now have your target in a mix-up as well. So guaranteed 34 damage plus the potential for much more, just because you pressed the 2 button. Dodging these projectiles is not exactly easy. The bow speed has been standardized just recently. They are now all 700 ms. Which means they sit at a speed that allows for reaction dodges for some, but not for all players. But I don't want to get into the whole reaction thing now, because these projectiles can come from off screen as well. 50 damage you never saw coming. You can also just GB or block stun for them as they don't quite follow the same rules as normal attacks. Well, let me just reiterate, 50 damage. Damage has been a huge point of discussion as well. The more reworks we got, the more the damage crept up again, and projectiles were never even touched. Yeah, they're tier 3s, but they're extremely unfun to face. This is not some interactive feat that you can use creatively. Press a button, you're dead. But the most retarded one of them all still has to be Pugyo. A 2-second pin for one of the fastest projectiles, guaranteeing whatever attack you want basically. And on top of all that shit revenge locks. I know I somewhere have a really old clip of this, I don't know if I can find it. You guys will see on screen right about now. And this hasn't changed since then. This whole group of feats has multiple issues that make facing them quite the unfun experience. talking about unfun, let's move on to some tier 4s. Damage feat in the form of Fire Flask first. It is damage and area denial. But the one thing you will have heard is people saying Fury Flask. Damage multipliers from feats like Fury do work on other feats. So your already pretty strong tier 4 feat now is buffed by another 35%, which most of the time means that you've just gotten one shot. One shots tend to not be the most engaging thing, no matter the game. So while feats affecting feats might be an interesting premise, the current implementation makes some other unbearably strong, up to the point where you only, or to a large degree, take them to buff said strong tier 4. The other side of the coin when talking about one-shots is obviously invulnerability, and the closest you can get to this in Inferna is with Blackbriar's Umbral Shelter. The refreshing shield for 12 seconds is a free stall. Attacking people during that time window is just free revenge for the opponents, as it's pretty much impossible to land enough damage to even touch the health bar, so you just have to wait it out. Fights in Inferna only last long when you have people return from spawn. The never-ending reinforcements is what makes fights last long, but otherwise they don't really. People die rather quickly. Adding an extra 12 seconds, especially nowadays where defending has gotten significantly harder, just makes this feat oh so strong. But enough talk about the tier 4s. Let's move to the tier 2s. For some reason, many of the strongest feats can be found in this slot. Juggernaut. It's also a free stall. Attacking someone within that 10-second window is in general a bad idea. We're looking at a 50% damage reduction and hyper armor. This means that you can't really follow up any bashes, or ganks do not work either, as they will all most likely result in a free guard break, and depending on location and opponent, this might be a free ledge, spike, or the environmental. Another tier 4 that gets much less time in the spotlight is Caltrops. Nusha is probably the least played hero in this game. The last time we got numbers for pick rates, she was sitting at 0.4% if I remember correctly. But this doesn't take anything away from Caltrops. The feat lasts for 25 seconds and is on a 45-second cooldown. That thing pretty much up every single fight. And you cannot fight on top of them. It does damage on movement. So walking, running, getting hit, blocking, counter guard breaking, whatever. All those actions do move your character and thus will result in damage. It is insane area denial, and when used in a chaotic team fight, it will do insane amounts of damage. Mind you, it also goes for teammates. If any other hero had this feat, I'd say it would need immediate attention and a hefty nerf. But instead, it's this one that should have gotten attention many months ago. Smoke Bomb. This absolute abomination of a feat. I would take a bet that nobody on this planet does actually know what the fuck it does. Like actually does. And I do include the devs here. Every week there seems to be a new interaction that can't quite be explained. Oh well, Smoke Bomb boys, guess we just accept that it's fucked. This feat has caused nothing but problems, be it when you are physically removed from a capture point by standing in it. Blocking sometimes follows the external guard rules, and next time it doesn't. Sticky dodging is still a thing in it. We're assuming it's taken the center of the smoke as the lock-on point. Who the fuck knows? Maybe that's also what happens with blocking. And then bots. Why would they have to play by the same rules as players? Bots somehow still parry just fine in smoke. Something that shouldn't be possible according to its description. But hey, it's Smoke Bomb. It's fine to not work or work too good for years. This one is legit puzzling me. How can it still be in the game? This is not exactly news. How many times have we gotten slight alterations to it? Alterations that meant absolutely fuck all in the grand scheme of things. There is not a single reason to keep this thing. It's banned in competitive. In normal matchmaking, everybody hates facing it. Killing somebody in smoke isn't fun either. It's time to pull the plug on this feat. I don't want to be here next year and talk about sunk cost fallacy again. In general, feats need to be addressed, not one by one, but they all need a proper look at. The power levels of them are all over the place. We have tier 1s stronger than tier 4s. We have tier 4s that are match deciding, and we have some that should be a reportable offense when someone picks them because they are an active detriment to the team they are fighting in. To be honest, this whole video felt like the same thing I've done dozens of times again. Feats are a part of character balance. They do have quite the impact on them. But for the most part, it feels like they're being ignored and only band-aid fixes are applied every now and then. I hope this is an indicator for a bigger rework, but honestly, I don't know. You guys let me know if you have a specific feat that I haven't mentioned that just annoys you to no end. Maybe Warmonger's tier 4, maybe Spear Storm, you name it. Having said all that, hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.